video bigger or something, or are you able to just go off what I have?
Yeah.
You can pin
just
the
pin
video,
him.
or you could actually, if you're coming in through, are you not coming in through that computer for the Zoom?
No, I can't. I don't have that computer with me. It's at my house. Let's see here.
Then I think this will work just fine. I think.
Cool.
You guys, we can follow it. If you right click and you pin Ben's video, it makes it big.
Excellent. Yeah, do that, because I'm going to have some difficulty. Okay, so, and obviously this is not the greatest lighting scenario as well. I'm going to try and get this. I've got a massive screen here, so I'll try and keep it within the confines of the area. All right, so everybody, you guys have seen this one because you've probably been using this for your, past class and the other one. Primarily, the difference between this one and the Slate editor is just a weird different space. Now, I still use both this and the Slate editor often. It does not make sense to just ditch and go with one or the other. There are reasons why you would go with both of them. So inside Material Editor, if you go to the modes, there's your two options, compact and Slate. So if you click on Slate, and obviously mine shows up massive, so let's get that smaller so I can kind of fit it in here. Hey, there's that. Now mine's going to be a little bit different because I've got V-Ray stuff inside here, and I can't really turn that off. But let's just get this started. So let's say we've got a physical material. So instead of having a ball to drop on, you actually have to grab. So inside here, here's my general tab. I'm just going to click a physical material and drag that in here, and then boom. When I let go of it, you can see I've got a gray material. This is basically all the different maps that you can use to do things with, and all these little nodes at the front of them, you can connect things to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. I'm going to actually back this up a little bit. Are you able to still read it, or is it a little bit?
It's a little off, but if we have it pulled up, we can see that it has a base weight map, it has a base color map, reflectivity, reflection map, roughness, metalness. So we can read those as you're doing that.
Good deal. And then I'll just make sure that I specifically kind of focus on the area that I'm touching. Okay, so I just grabbed from this stack the material map browser, a physical material, I drug it in here, and I dropped it down. Now, if you drag in another one, boom, there's another one. You can click it in the top here, move it wherever you want. If you hit the minimize button at the top corner, then now you've got it's a little bit smaller. You can also see that over here in your navigator, this is showing you every single material you have inside this area. Now, you don't have to have any materials in here, even if you have materials inside your scene. This is just a navigator that shows what materials you have inside here. Like I could take this one, and the nice thing about this is, let's say, you know what, I don't need this material anymore. It's in the scene, it's good. I can always eyedrop it if I want to. I'm gonna hit the delete button, boom. I did not delete that material, it's just not showing up inside here. So it's a way to manage it, because these can get convoluted very quickly. So
when you use that, what Ben's saying is that there's an eyedropper material right underneath modes, and it's in both the compact material editor and the Slate material editor. And if you hit that in your scene where that material is, it'll reappear, and you can manipulate it then. Okay. And that's how you make more balls in your compact material editor too, is you just stack them on top of each other, and then you just have to go underneath and get them all.
And to illustrate that, so it's like you can see I've got this weird thing in the background here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on my eyedropper, so you can see where my mouse is going up here. I've got the eyedropper, and I'm just going to click on that. And you can see in the dead center, overlapping these other materials, it is now grabbing that. Now, if I move that, you can see I'm moving it, but it's that map that's drawing that red line to it is still over here. Now, this can get annoying, but but bear with me. So inside this space, if you do your middle mouse button and you click, you can move around that entire space. You can also use the scroll wheel and you can zoom out and zoom in. So you can kind of focus in on, oh, I wanted to get as close as I can to that one as possible. I can also grab this object by just clicking on it and drag it and move it. So it's saying, okay, that looks a little better. But let's say I've got a whole bunch of stuff in my scene and I want to just get this somewhere else so that I don't have to worry about it. And there's a 300 maps associated with this one. Am I going to do this and then grab each individual one of these and move them? No. What you're going to do is inside here, if you right click on the material, you've got a whole bunch of other things that you can do inside here. One of them is, if you can see where I go down here, you go layout children. If you lay out children, it automatically is just going to grab them and kind of quickly drop them to the correct, close, easy to read area. They won't overlap, and that's just, this is only one map, but this shows a pretty good way of how that works. So now that I have this, let's say I like this in the diffuse map because that's the one that I have here, but let's say I also wanted this to be in the bump map. So I'm going to grab this, and just from that node at the map level, I just click on this and I drag it. You can see I've got a new red line, and I'm going to click that over and see it where I've got it. I can just let it go on that bump map dot, boom. Now this is going to be creating a bump map as well as the diffuse map. Now,
Okay.
just like in
Time out.
Sure.
So you got that your new it looks like map number 1. So we have over on our site, we have advanced wood, we have bitmap, we have blended box map, we have camera map, pixel, dent, fall off gradient, and so on and so forth.
Oh, yes.
What would you suggest we put out into our Slate Material Editor as something to use this first time?
I would say anything that is not procedural. So the smart wood, that's a procedural map. That one will actually generate, I mean, you can change the color of individual strands. Like it's pretty cool. Definitely play with it, but not right now. Right now, I would say find something that is just a standard picture. Like honestly, just anything that you can find here, whether it's a brick pattern or something that's a JPEG or a PNG, if you're able to drop that into your material editor, that will suffice. Like I just have, this is just a some pictures that I have of a model project that I worked on. So
how about the Perline marble?
I think that might be a picture. It also might be not.
Let me pull it in here. But I'm going to share my screen with you and,
okay.
and the rest. And so what we have here is we got the physical material, and I pulled out from here. I pulled out the Perlin marble, and
yes.
It looks like it's just a couple colors.
Yeah, and then that is a procedural map, but that totally works for what you were talking about. So you can see inside there, that's not associated with anything. But as soon as you click that and you drag that to that base weight map or the base color map or the reflectivity, it really, it's going to change that material. Now, that material, to place that onto your little house object, you can do what you did, right-click Assign Material Selection, or here, move your mouse out and click out. Go to do you see the main node on the right side of that whole thing? Yeah. Click and drag that dot onto the actual object and then let go.
Didn't do it.
Oh, weird. Oh, you know what? Okay. Okay. So yeah, do that way. Assign material to selection.
I think that it did do it, but we just can't see it.
Oh, okay. So this might be the other thing where when you drop a map, yeah, there you go. Okay, so it is in there. So this is one of the most annoying things. I actually ran a script, and I don't even remember how I did this, but I have it set up where whenever I get inside 3ds Max the first time, it automatically, whenever I drag any material into my scene, it automatically shows up on the thing. But what you want to do is there's a button on your top navigator bar. See where you got your mouse and then you got your eyedropper. If you go further over there you end up with this one that says show shaded material in viewport. There it is, or the one next to it, yeah. And then click on that, and then click on it again. There you go. So that now shows that material inside there. Now, the unfortunate thing is that you're going to have to do this with every brand new material that you get. But if you copy the material that you're using now and just use that one, like that's how I do it inside the regular material editor.
Oh, and then you just change everything and it automatically shows up because you did it once.
Exactly. Now,
So-
for the future, if I remember what the scripting thing is, I'll let you guys know, just because like you can see, well, if when we get back to my screen, which we don't need to get to for a while, that the image that I have in the background, I can drag from my desktop anywhere onto any object in my scene, and it will show up with the material on it. So it's pretty cool.
So one of the neat things with this is that we can also drag the map to not only our base color, but we can drag it to another part of this, like the metalness.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have to go back and show that material in viewport again.
Oh no, you're actually good. Once you've done it just once, that
Okay.
material is, because it's it's you're good to go. So if you were to render this, and what you'll end up doing is, and it's probably going to be hard on this one because the metalness is more of a shininess type look to it, and it will require that you have your opacity is a little bit more. There's a whole bunch of other different things that you're going to have to deal with.
What about a light? Just put a light in it.
Yeah, you could put a light in there. That could assist. You might have to get it to where it is in front of the camera between the two.
On 21, it seems like there's like I don't have that marble map immediately available. I don't know where it would be in here.
So
Well,
we might have to look at that because I'm using 2020, and so when you look, and I saw that when I was looking at, I think it was Chase's. Do you have materials general and physical materials blend composite?
Not all of those.
Okay. Do you have physical material?
Yeah, we've got physical material.
Do you have maps if you scroll down?
Yeah, but there's no general. They're all in different categories. Oh, there is a general, but it's down further. But there's a whole bunch of different categories.
Okay. So we're trying to keep this pretty simple. So if there's things like that arise, we need to know that. Anyway, what a map does is it's a map of a material. Okay.
correct. Yes.
So they can be changed. Like we can switch this color one.
Oh yeah. I mean, you could actually change that color with an actual map. As you can see, because you've clicked on that object, there's your different colors, but then inside that bar right there, you could click on no map, and then you could change that. So instead of it being green, maybe it's like a rocky texture, or a picture of brick, and then brick will only show through in those areas. So that's actually kind of one of the cool things about these procedural maps, is that you can do really interesting stuff with them.
Really?
Oh yeah. What's
You
interesting
can
is
do
that, like,
crazy stuff then, like put a car as one of the colors or something.
oh, you can. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've found is that really when you're using the materials inside 3ds Max, this is from using it all the time. I rarely use procedural maps now. Like if someone needs a picture, or like it says, hey, I've got a brick that looks like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look on the internet, and then I'm going to find the best image that I can that's flat of that brick. And if I can't find one that's similar, I'm going to spend some time in Photoshop and I'm going to make it. And once I've made it, I actually have a JPEG or a PNG that I'm going to use to drop in there. It would be a PNG if it was like a leaf that I was going to be scattering across a tree, because then the leaves will actually show just by themselves and all the rest of the rounding won't. But I don't use procedurals for practically anything. Now, having said that, they are immensely fun. and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with them. But
Hey,
like for my specific stuff, it doesn't really make sense.
Hey, Ben, so
Yes.
is that one of the reasons why you use the slate material and the compact is because when you use compact, you're able to drag and drop a JPEG from your file onto those, or can you drag and drop a material onto here?
Well, you can. So that's actually one of my favorite things. You can't drag and drop a material onto the actual object itself. But if you, here, how about this? Unshare your screen for a second. I'll show you something cool.
Yep, I was just going to bring up some brick materials because I got excited.
No. Nice. Okay, so let's see here. So if you guys can see my screen again, this is so I've got an object here, or I've got my my folder with just some random pictures in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, of course, I just hid them. Hey, there they are. I'm going to click on one of these, and I'm just going to drag it in and then let it go. So by doing that, now that map is right there. So if I wanted to, I can take this map and I can move it, and it takes over that specific object, which has now changed my object because I've done it this way. So you can just grab any material that you want, and it's when you drag it into here, you're actually just dragging a map. You're not making it a material. Like I can drag this object in here and let it go, but this isn't associated with anything yet. It doesn't even have its material base. So if I wanted to, I can add this later, but I don't need to. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's just like you can organize your maps as well as your materials, and your material is what your maps are. Or, your material is the holder place for all of the different maps to go onto your objects. So yes. So there we go. There's this one. All right. So then let's see here. What were we going to talk about? What's the next part? I mean, man, there's so many. Okay, so one of the things that you're going to see is that this area over here is identical to inside the what's called the compact material editor. And this changes depending on what area you're on. If you click on the diffuse map or the reflect map, like it'll bring you back to the main area here. In each one of these, like you can see, these ones are tiny. This is a tune, so this is going to look similar to your stuff because this is out of V-Ray. But you can see that there's these little kind of gray boxes. Those are slots, and you will have those in yours. Those are just slots for maps to be in there. If you click on, like let's say this is the diffuse, you will have a diffuse or a base color. If you click on one of those, it will bring up a dialog like this guy, and it will give you the option to go grab more maps. Now, the main map that I would suggest getting used to is bitmap. And the reason why is that if you can find bitmap, which should be under general, and then it's like 2 down, you have advanced wood and the next one's bitmap. Bitmap is basically just browses to whatever photos you're looking for. So inside here, you'd click on the one that you want, double click on it, and then boom, it automatically appears inside here. So to show you what that's going to do, because it's going to change here, let's just do this. So I double click it, and you can see that for roughness, because that's what I was in apparently, it grabbed and it added that picture or that map to roughness because of where I grabbed the thing. You can see this says roughness right there. I clicked on that little gray box and boom, it dropped the map inside there. So you don't have to add maps into here and then associate them. You can just be like, I need a diffuse map that's different. Or I need, I don't want that one. Boom. I just clicked on it and I deleted it. I click on the diffuse map. I go over to this little gray button, click on that, go to my bitmap inside here. And once you've done it once, it'll actually pop up every time. So it becomes a lot easier. And then I double click on my object, and there's my object thing, and boom. So there's the new map that's associated. So these are all the same way of doing, the same thing. I would say the next thing to do after this is to put it on your object and then to play with it on your object. So once it's on your object, this is when you're going to have to deal with like the UVW map stuff. Now that's kind of jumping out of the material editor. So before doing that, I'd say good Slate material editor management is that if you have a lot of objects inside your scene, it's going to get pretty crazy and it's going to get hard to see. And what about the one that you put way over here? So it's like, oh, I'm really looking for, where did I put that thing? Well, I can see that inside my navigation, I've got an object here. And if you click on it in navigation, it automatically jumps you over to that area. So you can grab it and move it around and get it closer, bring it back. So that's kind of understanding where things are. The other big thing is, once you have your materials that you want, you can tell that with this one, I only have 2 maps associated with it, right? There's just this guy and this guy. And technically they're the same map. So they don't, I could just delete this one and then click this and drag that down to roughness. And it's the exact same thing. So the issue is, you can see that I've got this map. I've got 2 slots used and there's like 30 slots here. So minimize it. This makes it so much easier. It still keeps all of your data inside there, but now this is manageable. Also, let's say I wanted to move this and all the other maps over here where I'm creating something, but I don't want to have to do this and then grab those. And I don't want to have to do the thing where I'm saying layout, right click, layout children. What I want to do is just click, drag around both of them, and I can move them together. And if I don't want, it's just really easy. Anyways, I would suggest minimize all of your materials and name them. So you can see, well, you probably can't see this, but if I zoom in, that says material number 32. Inside here, you can click and say, this is my gray basic material. And then boom, now you've got gray basic. This is tedious, but if you don't do it, you're going to be constantly confused about your scene, especially when you have a large scene and there's 1,000 different materials inside there. So labeling all of your materials is hugely important. Now, one of the big downsides with the Slate editor is that if you are using large maps and you have a lot of data inside here, you can actually crash Max without doing anything. Just opening your materials will crash it. Or if you have this open and you're rendering anything, that can crash it, or it can drastically increase the amount of time it takes for your scenes to save. So one of the weird things about the Material Slate editor is that if you're not using it for materials, don't just keep it up, like close it. You do not want it open when you're rendering and doing other things. Oh man, it has driven me crazy in the past. Now, it also goes with just a regular material editor. If you have just your compact material editor, that one works great. But it still can have similar issues. But the Slate editor is the big offender. This is the one where you definitely want to make sure it's closed before you render. And always be saving often.
Can you tell us how you pick what maps you use where? So you use the same one on 2 different categories. Can you tell us how, what you would choose for certain pictures or whatever?
Oh yeah. So for the most part, I'm with the lighting that Arnold and V-Ray and all the other the lighting that's just built into Max. I say V-Ray. You should just say Arnold, because that's the great one that comes with it. With Arnold, I really just use the diffuse map. That is primarily what I'm using. If you're getting glass, then you don't have a map at all. You're just using the color, and you're messing around with the things inside here. If you've got brick, it's a brick color. Now, brick is one that I will use for the bump map as well. And you guys know what the bump maps are? It's just kind of a projection. It kind of makes the object kind of look like it's, when light crosses over it, dark areas in the image appear to be in shadow. That's kind of like what it looks like. And then the lighter areas appear to be in light. So it's
is that on the picture that you chose for the map?
Yeah, let's see if I can show let's do a quick render and see if this works. Here we go. So I'm rendering. I just need the models. I don't have a light in my scene. Of course, I'm using V-Ray, and I've brand new scene. Anyways, Let's see here. Let's just grab a light real quick. Go B-ray and B-ray light. We're gonna go boom. Network. Create a light. Hey, there we go. All right, so now we've got a light. And let's make sure it's close enough to my object. Sorry, I'm doing all this out here. There we go. So let's see how that does. All right, so now we've got our light and it's super bright. So I'm actually going to cancel that and we're going to raise that light up and get it a little bit further away. All right, so now I'm going to zoom in on this and you'll be able to see. You see how that actually has some stuff on it?
Yeah.
But there's like, this is a yellow map. Like that's what this is. So if I drop this into diffuse and then I hit Shift Q, now you can see that's what actually showcases inside that render. Mm-hmm. But if I don't have that here, and let's say I were to just change the color. So now I'm changing the color from gray to pink. When I render this, you still get that bump. So it's showcasing the white and black. It's really just value. If you've got white and black, that's going to showcase that bump. So if you find, like, let's say you're doing ground cover and you want it to look like pebbles, just find a good picture of pebbles and then drop it in your bump map.
Yeah, okay.
And that will give your surface that kind of lighting detail. It's basically faked light.
Yeah, check this out. What the shadows do. So do you remember that tattoo?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I did is I put a tattoo as a bitmap on my bump map. Okay. And my original map is, and then I have a question to ask you about this, is these bricks. All right. With the bitmap chosen on material 26, okay, which is my physical bricks.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Because that's what it is. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, I went down into my bump map and it says tattoo. And then I was increasing the weight or the depth of my fake shadows. And then when I render it, they come out where these are relatively deep, right? And then displacement, if we take that way up, anyway, we're getting this really bold thing. My question to you, Ben, because I've run into this before, why did it take the color from my bitmap on my bump map and put it on my base weight map? Should I have that on base color?
That is an interesting thing. I would actually,
I think you do need to have it on base color. I'm working with this like arcade floor.
Oh, that's it. It was base color.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I had the exact same issue.
Sweet. I tried it with this green vegetation, but I couldn't get it to work with this green vegetation. I couldn't really get it to do anything.
So if you did like reflectivity map, it would just reflect on that surface, whatever picture you chose?
Kind of. Reflectivity is going to be weird. It's going to take more of like the, it's not going to reflect that exactly. It's so.
Yeah, sorry, man. I'm just trying to.
No worries. These are great questions. These are the ones that make me think back. It's interesting because I don't use it the same way that I used to. Just because of the type of work that I'm doing. But I would say they're definitely just go YouTube crazy and check out all of the stuff that people have done using some of these. Like I actually want to get back into procedural maps. Even though there's not really a reason for me to do that. So if you just look up 3ds Max, that stuff, then you'll get that info. And here I am trying to do multiple
things. From the looks of it looks like a lot of the other ones, other than like the base weight and the base color, they all have to do with the black and white in the certain images.
Yes, they all really do.
From what I'm seeing, a lot of it has to do with the black and white. So for like the reflectivity, the white would be non-transparent and the black would be transparent, and that's how it would reflect.
Okay.
And if you have any kind of Photoshop experience, if you make like a black and white checkerboard or a brick pattern and you invert it so that all of the white grout lines are black and all of the bricks are white, and you use that as a bump map, it's going to give that indentation where your mortar is. If you
Yeah.
get them scaled proper, like you'd have to use the same photo.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It just assumes the black is the shadowy area, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's fun, Ben Shepherd.
Oh yeah. So
Fun.
those ones are definitely so anyways, that's some of the map stuff. The other most important thing about the maps is it's actually not in the material editor. It's going to be your UVW map. So you can have a cool looking material, but if it's not going to look right on the object, then you need to get that figured out. So let's say you're doing like the one that you were talking about. If you have a brick and you need to go over an archway, how do you make that? So first off, we're going to need an archway. So let's just do this real quick. We've got our wrong one. There we go. So here's our arch, and I'm just going to use a bend modifier to kind of simulate a real quick arch. So do a bend. We're going to do 90. We're going to do 100 or do 180. There's our archway. And then like to make this so that we actually have this as an archway on, an actual building. There's your archway there. And then we're going to shift select all these guys, deselect the interior ones here. Forgot these guys. And I don't know those. And then I'm going to go to my extrude. I'm going to do this to by local angle. And then I'm going to grab all of the top dots this way, and we're going to scale them so that we have our flat. So here's that. And then so that these bricks kind of showcase. There is
I've been watching this kid for so many years, goes so fast, it blows my freaking mind.
All right, so now we've got our archway, and we wanted to do this. So I've bumped it out just a little bit so you can actually see those details. So now I need to get a material that's going to work for this. So I'm going to go to my diffuse, and we're actually going to find a brick. And this won't be hard because I actually have a library of them. So bear with me 1 second. Yoink.
You have a library of just bricks?
Well, I mean, I have a library of just a whole bunch of stuff. Model materials. Here we go. Oh, yeah. So here we go. So like, here's a brick. Boom. So now I'm going to drag this onto the object. And now you can see that this looks perfect and I don't need to change anything. But this is actually kind of interesting. So the reason why I started out with a bend is you can actually see the brick inside this bend actually doesn't look terrible. It is terrible, but it's following that arch. Now, as soon as I put a UVW map modifier on this, I'm destroying that. So I'm going to do that. Modifier list. We're going to go down. I'm going to grab UVW map. And now, you're going through the UVW map in this one is like, okay, well, that's definitely not right. I don't want it going that direction. It always starts it with being in that plane mode. So I'm going to go and I'm going to switch it to box. So now it automatically fits that bounding box. Like I've got an orange, that box that goes around it. Now, one of the things about this is if I know that this is to scale and I know that this brick map is, let's say 30 by 30 by 30, I can go 30. Well, I'm typing this in the length width height. And you can see that 30 is way too small, which means I made a monstrous arch. So I'm going to pump that up to 300 by 300 by 300. That's a little bit better. So now I've got brick, but I still have the same issue in this archway. So one of the things would be to build the arch in the beginning, or you need to separate this shape from the other one. Now these ones, the ones that are running down the face, those ones are fine. I really just want to get these ones to look right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put another UVW map modifier on it. Now, before I do this, I want to make sure that this outside area is done. Otherwise, it's going to mess with some weird stuff later. So I'm going to go to UVW map. And now you can see if I hit F2, it's actually going to just stay on there. So it's messed up now. I'm going to go to box. You can see that box does kind of the same thing. It's not looking real good right now, but I'm going to switch it to cylinder. And then you can see I've got this really weird shape in orange. And the reason why is that it's just being kind of weird. So this is where I like to use hotkeys. I'm going to use number 1, which is going to highlight that shape and turn it yellow. And from here, I can scale that shape. I'm not sure if this one's actually going to scale because it's a flat surface. It's actually not going to work for me. So let's see if I can do a box. Ooh, box doesn't like it either. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Because I'm not having success with this way, I'm going to convert this whole object back to an editable poly. I'm going to select these objects. I'm going to grow them just so that I have that as a separate entity. And I'm going to detach these. So I'm going to go into my over here and I'm going to detach, which means I'm breaking that off. So it's not the same object anymore. So now whatever I do to this is not going to affect anything else. So now that I got that one, I'm going to go this one. We're going to go UVW map. And then we're going to go to box. And then we're going to go to cylinder. And by doing cylinder now, I should be able to rotate it like that. Now, do you see what's happening? I'm getting this like yellow shape that's actually the sphere that's coming in. So I want to get this to look as circular as possible. And then I want to right click and I'm going to rotate that forward. So if I do that forward and I get it to 90 degrees, which I'm trying to find, there we go, there's 90 degrees. You can see it still is looking really weird, but it's starting to match up. Now, this is where you're going to start messing with the UVW map tile. And you can see as I do this more, it's getting a little bit better. Now, if I increase this the other direction, well, that's not the right one. That's the U tile or the V tile. Let's do, oh man, what did I do? Something, oh, the V tile freaked out. Okay, so anyways.
That's in your parameters that you're doing that?
Yeah,
It's just a U tile, V tile, and W tile. And then your length, width, and height, like that really is just kind of change your, the actual shape of the object. So you can see nothing else is really going on there. So I'm trying to figure out the best way. So what's interesting is like, so when you're building something, sometimes building it the correct way, like this still doesn't look good to me. Like if I were actually going to make this archway look really nice, I'm going to start off with an object like the one that I made with in the beginning, like this. Ooh, of course it's not close. So let's bring that over here. I'm gonna go my top view. We're gonna get that. Zoom this down. And now I'm going to width. That's about the same width. All right, so now that I've got that, this one I'm going to bring up here. We're gonna put that material. So I'm grabbing this material. I'm dragging it onto the object. And I'm going to UVW map this first, and then I'm going to manipulate it. Exactly. So this is the cool thing about it, because what's nice is that if you, so in my modifier list, and of course I'm showing this, I'm going to do this over here. So in my modifier list, if I go down to the UVW map, and we've got it there, and I set this to box, and you can see it inside the scene. I'm going to then hit 1, and I'm just going to do this. I like scaling maps pretty quick. So that's about the same size as the ones we're looking for, but I also want it to be like half and half. So there we go. That's what I want it to look like. Now it's going to stretch it, but you can only get as awesome as you can. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my modifier list. So I'm back over here, and I'm going to bend. So now I've got this one. I'm going to do this one 180, and
Yeah, that's
And
good.
and then the best part about this one is I can go back into the box and I can increase the height.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So now you've got one that you can use for whatever you're doing, and it will stay the same there. Also, if you increase the segments on the inside, it will actually clean up the map. So you can see how we're getting kind of these like weird triangulated areas.
Mhm.
So if you increase the amount of areas there, it actually will smooth up those areas. And if
Oh,
you take
yeah.
it off, then there you have it. The other best part about this is, I'm going to move this up. Because I can select, I'm now in the UVW map. I can scale this map the other direction. And now you can see I've fixed that
Oh,
top
yeah.
face. So now it looks like that top face actually works with the, with the brick. So now that I've got that, I've got this archway, which looks like this as a separate object. So if you're doing detail work, it's really better to, think of it first. So if you're going to manipulate it by actually changing, I'm sorry, I realized it's not in there. There you go. So you got there. And the other best part about having it like that is you can then, change your material, your other materials. So let's say the rest of this was actually, it's a white wall, but it's got a brick pattern here. And then, there you have it. So yeah, just some other random ways of going
Well, that was
about.
very, 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 very helpful. I've been fighting that for a while, Ben. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so to rehash on that,
Sure.
what you did there was you made a box, you UVW'd that box so that it was fitting that the way you wanted to. Then you bent it,
Then he bent it.
and yeah, okay, that's really interesting. That works so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
yeah,
So that
and really
you
you
never
can
had
use
to
that
change-
for.
Sorry.
Oh no, say what you were saying because
You never had to change that to be a cylinder map. Then it just stayed as a box map.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because it wants to be a box map to begin with. So you're using the bend to assist you. I mean, bend is awesome. So now here's one of the other best things about it. So it's like you can see I've got two of these objects inside here. I just copied this one over. By copying that one, if I increase the box height, it's still, so now I've got like my different arch patterns. So, if I wanted to, I can grab this entire area here and I can do my symmetry modifier on it. And then if I were to go like this and then flip it, now I've got other ways.
Oh yeah.
So this, there's our area, and using symmetry is awesome too. You can really get into awesome stuff with all these things. But yeah, this shape is manipulatable in many aspects just by having it this way. So you make the box, you put the UVW map on it, then you put your other whatever modifier you want on it. And that is what's going to allow you to do a lot of really, really cool stuff with it. Because let's say if I wanted to put a different map on this, that's actually the other part that I should show right now. So we've got this. Let's say I go inside here and I'm going to click on my map and I'm going to go inside. So I'm back to the maps area. I'm just going to find a different map. Where's my bricks? Hey, there's my bricks. All right, so here's a white brick. So by doing that, you can see it kept that UVW pattern, but because it's working with that brick, anywhere I put it, it's going to just reload the different style. So it's going to give you a lot of options to be able to, mix and match. And as long as your map works, I mean, you can really do whatever you want with this one. So,
Hey, Benjamin, I got a question for you. So we could make it like that and it would look pretty cool. One thing that I've been kind of playing with is just actually making physical stones where they actually have shadows and then placing a matte material on it like a sandstone and letting light be the actual physical block. Is there a reason that you do that, or is that just kind of being silly and overly detailed?
I would not actually call it silly. I think you're actually bordering along the lines of how I would do it. But what's interesting, so it's like if you're making your own objects, that's awesome. Like let's just to show you, I'm going to take a plane. We're going to auto grid this real quick.
By the way, that was
There's my
awesome,
plane.
Ben. I was following along, and I got my bricks to do what I wanted them to do, and I got my pump map to do what I wanted it to do. Thank you, guys.
Excellent.
Thank
Hey,
you.
for sure. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you why one of the things that I love to do, and this is it's kind of in that category of like what you're talking about specifically. So if we were to go to this is where's my map? Oh, there it is. All right, so I'm going to my map. I'm going to go to a just a stone. Let's see if I have a stone somewhere inside here. Hey, there we go. Okay, so we got stone. I drop it inside here. There's a tiling stone pattern that I have, right? But let's say I like the stone, but I want to be able to manipulate the colors and do a whole bunch of other interesting stuff with it. So I'm going to turn on F4, which is going to show my different areas. I'm then going to go inside my modifier list. And over here, I'm going to increase the length and width segments to like 200 by 200. It is going to have to be pretty detailed, but
you scared everybody else's computers. They're all like running underneath the desks right now.
Okay, well, if you can, I mean, let's say instead of doing 200 by 200, go straight with just 100 by 100. But what you've got is this. I'm going to isolate this so we can just look at it. Now, here's the best part about it. You've got this map inside here. You know it looks good inside the space. Now you're going to go to your modifier list and you're going to go down to displace. And displace is going to break your brains because of how awesome this thing is.
Oh,
so,
my God. I want to play with.
Yeah. So you click on displace on that object. It has to have, different things on it. And then in that bitmap where it says image, I should show you this. So if you guys can see over here, we've got where it says image bitmap none. So you click on that one. Or because we've already done that, I'm actually going to man, this is terrible. I need to get my screen up and running for you guys. All right. So what I'm going to do is, if you can see this, I'm actually going to take this stone map and I'm going to drag it directly. Oh, wait, it's not going to let me do that. Oh, no, it is. Okay. So it let me drag that map into this image area, but it didn't let me do it into the bitmap. It just let me do it in here. If I wanted to be the bitmap, I can click on the none and then go find it. But for some reason, it allowed me to do it in this way. So now that strength and decay, this is the part that's going to.
Wait. Hey, Ben.
Yes.
I'm just getting myself set up here with the bitmap, and I got a physical material up. Where am I pulling my bitmap texture in my Slate Material editor? I'm putting it on a bump map.
No, you're actually not. Okay, how about well, let's do it this way because I don't want to screw this up. So inside this place, you have your object the way you want it to look with just a regular material on it. Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to make it a base color. I'm going to pull that onto my plane that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show it in shaded view. Okay, then I'm going to increase my plane's length segments to, you said like 200, right?
Yeah, if you want, just go to 100 to 100. It'll illustrate the point, and then you guys can mess around with it later on because I don't want you to crash your machines.
Okay, so I got 100 by 100, and then I go to my modifier list and I go to displacement, correct?
Yes.
Displace.
And then in displace, this is where you're going to want to go over and you're going to click on the none underneath bitmap. Don't go to the ones underneath there. Don't try and slide it across. Just click the none. Okay. That's going to bring up. So here's the area here. So I'm going to go and I'm going to look for my material specifically that I wanted to get. And there it is. So now I have inside here, you can see it's saying there's my image inside the bitmap. So now for shock and awe, because this is the fun part, I'm going to drag a gray.
Wait. Does it have to be all format on file types?
No. You just have to have it.
It worked. Okay,
good. All right. So the next thing that you're going to do is I'm going to grab, I'm just grabbing a gray material and I'm dragging that and dropping it onto the object. So it just looks gray. And the reason why is that now I'm going to play with the strength and the decay that is going to create this. So watch this. As I increase the strength, boom, I now have actual projected rocks. I'm going to turn off F4 so you can see
That's
that.
crazy, man.
Shut up.
Yeah.
What did you just do?
So
Strength. Where was that? Strength is where?
it's here we go. In the very top of displace, you've got strength and decay. It's even above image and bitmap. So once
take
you have
out the
your
edge faces and then do the strength and decay. Oh my God.
So
And-
does strength pull it towards you, and
Holy
decay
shit.
pushes it away, or how does that work?
No, so decay is kind of like a. I'm not actually sure if decay is going to work for this specific map. Sometimes it's like a gradient. It kind of blends it together, but I'm getting nothing on mine. So I think it's probably because it's cool. So your decay is working.
No, just my strength. I just put it in the negatives because when I put it in the positive, it looked like the grout was coming out. And when I
Yes.
put it
So
in
you
the negative, then it looks like my bricks are coming out. That's exactly what I was looking for. You are a genius, Ben Shepherd, but you knew that.
So that's cool. And then here's my favorite part. So now you've got this. So here's this brick, and let's say, oh, you know what? I really wanted to put this onto a wall. Well, first off, this is already huge, right? Like you guys can see that that's a lot of different. I mean, I can see it on the monitors, making it look crazy. So you want to take once, let's say you're like this, copy it. Do not instances, but copy it and like title it master displace brick. And by doing that, you now have that saved, so you don't have to worry about messing. Like if you destroy the original one and you need to go back to it, you can always come back, because now that you've got this, you can really just put in any other material or picture and it will displace it. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this object I have, the front runner, and I'm going to go into my modifier list, and I'm going to go down to where it says optimize. Now, optimize is going to be hugely helpful. You're going to be able to see it. You can see the green in the background and the white in the foreground. So if I take the face threshold, I'm going to just look at that real quick. So over here, I did an optimize. So just, in the modifier list, optimize. And then downside, you get the face threshold is at 4. If you increase this, you're going to decrease the amount of faces, and you can watch it kind of grow. So see, as I do that, it starts to kind of break down that mesh.
Yep.
So now if I hit F4, you can see it still looks similar to the one behind it, but it's started to lose its kind of stuff. Now I've got it at 15.8 in the face threshold. So I'm going to decrease that back down to something like 8. So that looks pretty darn good. It looks almost identical to this back one. But the difference is this thing has 42,000 faces less.
Yep.
Okay. So now by having that, I know that I'm going to be able to utilize this in my scene and not have to worry about crashing my computer as much. Now, the reason why I'm showing you that is because you're going to want to take like this original one, and let's say we're getting into some fun stuff here, but let's say you were going to make a turret on a castle, and you wanted this to be the outside surrounding area for your stuff, right? So what we're going to do is, let me see here, we're going to put a bend modifier on this thing, and I'm going to increase that to 180, and you can see that it did some really wacky stuff, but that's because we were in the wrong axis. Hey, look at that. So now I've got 3D bricks that are going around 180 degrees. So I can then take this over here and I can say, well, you know what? I actually want this one to be inverted. And guess what? This is a tileable map. So wherever I put it, it's actually going to look like
no shit.
I've created.
It's a
Yeah.
seamless
So you can,
material.
exactly. So you can start to really mess with, like, I'm going to just make this a little bit easier to understand. We're going to do a negative 180. So now it's that way. And I'm going to match that up here so you can see. Boop. There we go. So that's almost perfect. And then, of course, now there's your ridiculous set of walls. And because I'm crazy, I'm going to manipulate it. So I've got, there's my stone wall. And just for fun, because we want to, we're going to take this and I'm going to put a bend modifier on all of them. and I'm going to change it to the Y. You can see it's doing some really weird stuff there. So I'm going to change my direction, and then we're going to increase this to.
That's awesome.
So now you have like one of the weirdest shapes made out of stone,
It's all right.
and there you go. It's also seamless. So these are really weird ways of using it, but I'm all for it. And let's see this in. There we go. So there's my weird little castle-y thing that I created.
That's exactly what I was hoping for.
All right, now you ready for the next part? That I could, just because we're already here.
Mhm.
So I'm
Is there
going
a way down
to
this rabbit hole.
exactly. So I'm going to go. I've selected this object. Now, if I would have instanced all of these objects, that would have been a great idea, because then they would all change at the same time. But I'm just going to show you with this one that I can go back into Displace. I can click on that bitmap. So I just clicked on that bitmap, and then I'm going to go find that brick that I was using earlier.
Mhm.
If I can find here, brick. And when I click on that, you can see now that I have that brick map is
Displacing as well.
displacing as well.
So it's doing both the rock and
Well,
the brick there.
that's because I'm doing this thing where it's let's see here. I hope that there we go. So you can see that it's doing, I had put it in the map.
Oh yeah.
So if I want to remove the map, so now I just have
Yeah.
the brick. So by changing that bitmap, and then of course you can see that it's inverted. Like it
Mhm.
actually is showing opposite. So what I would do is I'd just change my strength to go the other direction. And now that's
it's
there.
just
So
doing
if
that-
you were to have,
Is it just doing that because the grout is lighter than the brick?
exactly, because on this one, it was the objects were white and the grout was dark. And on this one, the grout was light and the objects were dark. So if these were all instanced, then you would have now had brick running your entire length of your area.
Yep.
So, lots of really fun stuff to mess around with and play with.
That's what I was hoping we'd get from you today.
Oh, yeah.
And
And on that,
that's
I gotta have to bounce. You got any last fun random things?
we will. Are we going to be able to get you again one more time?
Yes.
For Arnold.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm gonna try and make it. I mean, I obviously don't know if it's gonna get crazy busy or not, but I will try.
Good
And
job.
I know, right? But I'll try and be here with my laptop. That way, I can actually show you directly with the screen and not through this interesting phone to screen setup that I've got going.
Check this out. I got one.
Oh yeah.